Hello there, sword friends. Today I thought I'd do a little bit of a different video and talk briefly about Last Legend. This is a name from the past, the manufacturer that is no longer around making swords, but they did some interesting things, and these are some examples of some of the interesting things that they did that aren't necessarily around in the market today. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Last Legend was a manufacturer, I want to say around 2005, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. Unfortunately, they went away. I can't remember exactly what did them in, but they were renowned for having a bunch of different options on swords. They offered some swords that have a variety of shapes that you don't exactly see today, some with deeper curvature than is common on the market. They also had different customization options. They were some of the first folks to be able to offer that. They made some very interesting and cool swords, and they gave lifetime warranties, which didn't turn out to be particularly useful if the manufacturer goes out of business. Anyway, I can't remember exactly what the name of this one is, but this guy and the one on the bottom right here are from the same series. This would be the higher end variety, like the 4000 line. It had folded steel and lots of different thises and that's and the others. This is one of the more basic variety, but it has been redone a little bit. The handle anyway has gotten some upgrades. I will talk briefly about them though as I go down. So this right here is one that I was looking for. I found all of these secondhand over time, but this guy right here is, well, I'll put the name in the description down below. I can't remember, but I do remember, I believe it's the Amiru or something like that. It is one of the higher line swords, and when I was entering this hobby, Last Legend was one of the manufacturers that was out there making swords, and I really looked at some of their high-end swords as like a martial arts tool and thought I'd really like them. But it just shows how far swords have come. This sword, like probably 15-20 years ago, would have been like $900 or $1,000 or something more. It has some fittings on it which are ambitious. Just like today, some of these fittings look like they have gold detailing applied with finger paints. The casting quality isn't as great as what Hanwei puts out today, but it's better than what a lot of manufacturers put on the same swords that you see from the parts bin. These parts do look a little different than what you might have seen out there, but at the same time, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily better. Last Legend had some kind of decent Ito maki, but not necessarily the best. I would say the diamonds were a little bit small, but they were at least even, and they were known for putting on 3 makugi, which always made their handles kind of not exactly secure in my mind. One, it makes it easy to kind of pin things and tighten things up. 2, starts to play with the balance, and sometimes you have competing forces trying to pull your handle in different directions. 3, I'm not exactly sure, but this handle feels stable. At the same time, I wouldn't necessarily say it's more secure. Age has held up or caused some issues. I can see some of the wood core underneath. The organic materials on here have shrunken a little bit. It also has rattan wrapping. This was an extra feature that could be added, and this one has folded steel with a bohea and is a little bit longer. This would be one of their top-end offerings. The blade also has just generally a slightly different shape than what you see today, a smaller habaki than what is typical, and the blade has a little bit different distal taper, thins out towards the tip. It has a little bit, I don't know, nicer shape than what I'm used to seeing today. Not from all swords, but from some. It's just different than what was still what is available today. At the same time, it shows how far things have come. This being over probably $1,000 like 20 years ago. Conceivably today, if you were to spend $1,000 on something from Huawei, Shadow Dancer, Skyjiro, you could get a sword that has a better looking Ito that's tighter, a fitting set that I think might not be as ambitious, but does a better job delivering, a scabbard that doesn't have rattan, that looks like it was applied with like an arts and crafts project after school. And the folding on here isn't necessarily bad, but the polish is very mediocre, and those have really come quite a ways from where they were when this sword was built. Now this is the more basic one, and as you can see, it has the same kind of profile, but no bohea, and also a very different habaki, which makes me think this was kind of tinkered with afterwards. The fitting set, I believe, was added on. This may be an antique tsuba. I'm not exactly sure, but I definitely know that the Ito has been changed. This is really tight, and this fitting set looks like it is a recast piece from Hanwei. Now the fittings, when they were tied on, don't look like they were done necessarily the best. There are still ledges, but it does look like somebody with some know-how and some attention to detail really tried to clean this up, because the Ito is much tighter. The handle feels really good, as a practice training tool, this is really quite nice. In terms of polish, though, this looks like a through-hardened blade. In the right light, you can make out the hamon. It just doesn't have much of a polish on it. And that was something that often, well, I don't know about often, but was skipped in some of the base level Last Legend blades. This one, though, as a training tool, because it has tight ito, has been something I've pulled out and used some. At the same time, it's really starting to show its age. It's cracked in some spots. The paint is coming off in other areas. It's really not doing so great. The last one to talk about is this one right here, the Shin Kuma, or the bear katana. And there's a couple things on here that Last Legend did that were interesting. One, it's got a bear carved in the scabbard. They also had a dragon katana that had some carvings on it. But carved scabbards aren't something you see very often. Last Legend happened to do it. This one has some dings in the kurigata. The paint is coming off. The blade as well had some different shapes. Last Legend had different shapes, and a lot of the blades that you see today tend to have very, very similar shapes, and Last Legend just had some different curvatures, some different blade geometries, and that's something I would love to see a little bit more variety of in the Japanese swords that are made today. Anyway, as you can see, the shinogi, this ridge line, is very, very high up. Usually it's about, I don't know, a third of the blade down. This is about a fifth of the blade down, and so it's much smaller in this area, and it makes for a big wedge. Not quite a Hirazukuri blade because it has this shinogi area, but it's similar to a Hirazukuri blade in that way. It makes this a very effective cutter, and it's still a very stout beefcake of a sword. These are decent cutters, but they're stout to move around. This one, unfortunately, has a chip in the edge. It's minor, and I thought I could repair it. I got the blade with this chip in, and I knew that it was there. I thought I could repair it, but I just never ended up doing it because it's easy for me to screw up, and I never, well, I'm just too lazy. That's the base gist of it. I never bothered doing it because I always have other things to do with swords and other swords that are just fine and will cut, and I don't have to fix before I do anything with. So this will likely be a project for somebody else. I also like that this tsuba is on the larger side. As you can see, it's just a little bit bigger than some of the other ones in contrast. And Last Legend didn't do this very often, but there are a few swords out there that had bigger tsuba. This one just happens to be one of them. It's a bear of a tsuba. Anyway, Last Legend has been gone for a long time, but some of the stuff that they had is still lurking around in the secondhand market. And if you happen to find something, they are endearing in a way. They are fun swords from a different time in the mass production market and fun tools to train with. I unfortunately just never pull these out to use them anymore, and they're not relevant examples to keep around because, well, they're not on the market anymore, and they're not really comparable to a lot of the other stuff that's out there. Things have improved in a lot of different ways, but there are still some fun projects I think that people could have with these. Anyway, that's really all I wanted to share. I will link the Wayback Machine to Last Legend's website if you're curious about perusing some of the stuff they've had. They've had a number of different cool models, and it'd be cool to see where they are today. If you have a Last Legend and want to share it, I'd be interested to see some videos on what you think of Last Legend, how it's held up, what you use it for today. Does it hold up as a training tool? All that kind of stuff. I know these were really prolific in terms of the manufacture. They made a lot of swords. They were popular for quite a while, but you just don't hear the name mentioned anymore. So I'm curious if anyone still has them and what they think of them. Anyway, that's all I've got. Cheers, and thanks for watching.